Hello everyone. So the today's topic is the CDA and the CTA. CDA means the clinical confidential disclosure agreement and CTA means the clinical trial agreement. So uh, they are these are the documents that plays a uh, crucial role in the planning and execution of a clinical trials. So let's start the first topic means the CDA, confidential disclosure agreement. A confidential disclosure agreement, also known as a non-disclosure agreement, in some context is a legal contract used to protect sensitive and the confidential information shared between the parties involved in the clinical research, such as pharmaceutical companies, research institutions, and the investigators. So, components of the CDA. First is the parties involved. The CDA identifies the parties involved. Typically, the disclosing party, example research institution of the or a investigator. Then the definition of a confidential information. Then so the CDA specifies what information is considered confidential in some clinical trial. This could include study protocols, patient data, drug formulation, proprietary information, and a trade secret. Then third one is the obligation of the receiving party. The agreement outlines the obligations of the receiving party to protect the confidentiality of the disclosed information. This includes restrictions on sharing, copying, or using the information for any purpose other than the specified research. Then the duration. So the CDA specifies the duration of the confidentiality, which may extend beyond the conclusion of the clinical trial or until the certain conditions are met. Then the permitted disclosure. So the permitted disclosure, the agreement may include expectation or circumstances under which the receiving party can disclose confidential information, such as to regulatory authorities or subcontracts involved in the clinical trial. Then governing law. The CDA identifies the jurisdiction and the governing law under which disputes will be resolved. Then signature, termination, there are also. Then the primary purpose of the CDA is to safeguard proprietary and sensitive information, forecasting collaboration while ensuring that the disclosed information remains confidential. Then our next topic is the CTA, means the clinical trial agreement. So a clinical trial agreement is a legal document that defines the terms and the conditions under which a clinical trial will be conducted. It governs the relationship between the sponsor, usually a pharmaceutical company or a research organization, and a clinical trial site. Example, a hospital or a research institutions. It involves the parties involved. The CTA identifies the parties involved, including the sponsor and the clinical trial site, as well as any sub investigator or a subcontractors. Then the study details. Study details means it outlines the specifies or a clinical trial, such as protocol, study objectives, and the scope of the work to be performed by the site. Then the responsibility of the CTA. So the CTA defines the responsibilities of both parties, including the sponsor's obligations to provide the study materials, funding, and the oversight, and the site's responsibility for the conducting this clinical trial in accordance with the protocol and the regulatory requirements. Then the budget and the payment terms. Budget and the payment terms include financial aspects, including the budget for the trial, payment schedule, and the reimbursement of the expenses and detail in the agreement. Then the next one is the regulatory compliance. The CTA addresses regulatory compliance, ensuring that the trial will adhere to local and the international regulations and the ethical guidelines. Then intellectual property. It may include provisions regarding to the ownership and the use of the intellectual property generated during the trial, such as patents or data rights. Then the confidentiality. While CDAs While CDS specifically address confidentiality, CTAs often include confidentiality clauses related to the trial data and the results. Then the publication, termination, governing law, signature, these are included. So signature, authorized representative of both the sponsor and the clinical trial site sign the CTA, acknowledging their commitment to the terms and the conditions. So this is all about the confidential disclosure agreement and the clinical trial agreement. So confidential disclosure agreement safeguards confidential information shared during the clinical trial planning phase, while the clinical trial agreement governs the term and the conditions under while the clinical trial is conducted, addressing responsibilities, finances, regulatory compliance, and other clinical aspects of the trial. Thank you.